man is shot to death in a luxury restaurant. Meanwhile, his partner, the owner of a multi-million-dollar music empire, is found guilty in a US court. They were Ángel del Villar and Chucho Perez, the kings behind Del Records. Together, they dominated regional Mexican music, but they did it with a secret partner, the most dangerous cartel in the world, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. This is a story of dirty money laundered at massive concerts, of a betrayal in open court, where a star artist sold out his boss to save himself, and of a federal warning that was ignored. To partners, one criminal empire, and two ways to pay the bill, with blood or with prison. To understand the fall, you must first understand the rise. At the center of this empire was Ángel del Villar, a music visionary. In 2008, he founded Del Records, an independent label that would change the game. Del Villar didn't just sell music, he created kings. He was the architect behind the careers of regional Mexican giants. His first major signing in 2010 was a young talent named Gerardo Ortiz, whom he turned into a superstar. Phenomena like a Slobodan Armado, Lenin Ramirez, and T3R Elemento followed. His influence was so great that his company co-produced the 2023 global hit, Ella Baila Sola. Del Villar was more than a producer. He was a celebrity. His life was public, marked by a high-profile relationship with Chiquis Rivera, the daughter of the legendary Jenny Rivera. If Del Villar built the kings, Chucho Perez built their kingdoms. Perez was the strongman of concerts in Mexico. Through his company, Galística Diamante, he controlled the largest and most lucrative stages, especially the massive fairs in states like Aguascalientes and Metepec. But his method was force. It was said he used violence and intimidation to secure his concert contracts, eliminating any competition. He was the master of the show, the man who brought the music to the masses. The relationship between them was a perfect and dangerous symbiosis. Del Villar created the artists in the United States, and Perez gave them the most important venues in Mexico. Del Records produced the music that glorified the narco life, and Galística Diamante organized the concerts where that music was celebrated. Together, they didn't just participate in the industry. They had created a machine, a perfect circle that fed itself. The music created a culture that idealized crime. The massive concerts monetized that culture. And, according to authorities, the illicit profits from the cartels were laundered at these same concerts, thus financing the creation of more music. It was an incredibly profitable and deeply corrupt ecosystem. On April 6, 2018, the United States government decided the party was over. The Office of Foreign Assets Control, a division of the Treasury Department, made an announcement that shook the music industry. Jesus Chucho Perez Olvera and his company, Galística Diamante, were officially designated under the Kingpin Act. The Kingpin Act is, in essence, a financial blacklist. If your name appears on it, you become an economic pariah. No American person or company can do business with you, period. The accusation was devastating. Chucho Perez was not just a music promoter, he was a key operator for the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and its financial arm, Los Queenies. They accused him of using his concerts to launder millions of dollars from drug trafficking, mixing dirty money with legitimate revenue from ticket and beverage sales. Overnight, Ángel del Villar's profitable alliance with Chucho Perez had become a federal crime. 13 days later, on April 19, 2018, the FBI took action. At the Phoenix, Arizona airport, federal agents intercepted Gerardo Ortiz, Del Records' biggest star. They handed him a letter. The message was direct and left no room for doubt. His promoter in Mexico, Chuco Perez, was on the blacklist. Continuing to work with him was illegal and would have serious consequences. Ortiz, according to his own testimony, was scared. He understood the gravity of the situation and wanted to cancel his upcoming performance at a Perez concert in Aguascalientes. He even tried to miss his flight on purpose to avoid going, but Ángel del Villar had other plans. Despite his star artist's panic, he pressured him to perform. At trial, Ortiz would testify that del Villar downplayed the risk. He told him not to worry, that other big artists like Alejandro Fernandez had also received the same letter, and that everyone would continue with the concerts. He created a false sense of security, the idea that if everyone was doing it, it couldn't be that serious. It was a fatal miscalculation, driven by arrogance. Del Villar not only convinced Ortiz, but he committed an act that would seal his fate. On April 28th, to ensure Ortiz made it to the Forbidden's concert, he paid for a private jet with his own credit card. He left a paper trail that directly linked his money to the crime. It wasn't a mistake. It was a direct challenge to an FBI warning. And it wasn't the only time. Under del Villar's direction, Gerardo Ortiz performed at nearly 20 more concerts promoted by Chuco Perez after the federal warning. The die was cast. In June 2022, the FBI arrested Ángel del Villar and his CFO, Lucas Galici. The case went to a federal court in Los Angeles, and the prosecution prepared its secret weapon. The star witness who would take the stand to testify against del Villar was not an undercover agent or an accountant. It was Gerardo Ortiz, the man whose career del Villar had built from the ground up. To save himself, Ortiz had pleaded guilty and agreed to cooperate with the government, betraying the man who had been his mentor. Ortiz's testimony was devastating for the defense. He told the jury, in full detail, about the encounter with the FBI at the airport and the subsequent conversation with del Villar. He explained how his boss had pressured him, how he had downplayed a federal warning, and how he had convinced him to break the law. His account destroyed del Villar's main line of defense, the idea that he didn't know his actions were illegal. The testimony of his own protege proved that del Villar acted with full knowledge and intent. Del Villar's lawyer, Marisa Goldberg, tried to paint a very different picture. She argued that del Villar was not a criminal, but a victim. She accused a former vice president of Del Records, Brian Gutierrez, of being a paid FBI informant. According to the defense, Gutierrez had set a trap, manipulating del Villar and assuring him that business with Perez was legal, all while recording conversations and gathering evidence for the feds. It was a narrative of betrayal, but the jury had to decide who had betrayed whom. The trial revealed a world where loyalty was a currency. Del Villar demanded Ortiz's loyalty above the law. The defense alleged that Gutierrez betrayed del Villar's loyalty for ambition. And finally, Ortiz betrayed del Villar on the stand for his own freedom. In this world of big money and fragile alliances, loyalty was not a principle, but a commodity to be bought and sold to the highest bidder. The story returns to the beginning, to the murder of Chuco Perez. Now, the picture is clear. His execution was not a random act. It was the inevitable end of a life intertwined with Mexico's most dangerous cartel. Whether it was because he became a liability to the cartel out of the US indictment, because he was silenced to keep him from talking, or because he was the victim of an internal dispute, his fate was sealed by the very people he served. It was the brutal and swift justice of the underworld, a violent end, without appeal, delivered by a bullet. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Ángel del Villar faced a very different kind of justice, slow, methodical, and relentless. On March 27, 2025, the jury delivered its verdict. They didn't buy the story of a setup. Ángel del Villar and his company, Del Entertainment, were found guilty on all 11 counts against them. In the courtroom, del Villar remained calm. even as his family wept. He hugged his son and told him, "If I don't look upset, don't you be upset. I waited 5 years for this. I am calm." He now faces a maximum sentence of 30 years in a federal prison. His justice wasn't a bullet, but a judge's gavel. The case was called unique and unprecedented. For the first time, a major regional Mexican music company was convicted for its financial ties to the cartels. The verdict sent a shockwave through the entire industry. The US government's message was clear. They weren't going after the song lyrics, but the financial infrastructure that organized crime had built around them. The two partners, the two kings of the Corrido, met to very different but equally definitive fates. One was wiped off the map by his criminal partners in Mexico. The other was systematically dismantled by the legal system in the United States. Their story demonstrates a terrifying truth. When you enter the narco world, you submit to parallel justice systems, and either one can destroy you. Conclusion: the music stops the empire that Ángel del Villar and Chuco Perez built was based on a powerful mix of music and crime. They created a sound that defined a generation and a business that generated millions. But the same forces that propelled them to the top ultimately consumed them. Their story is a warning about the true price of fame built on a criminal foundation. The glamour of sold-out concerts, chart-topping hits, and luxuries paid for with dirty money all faded away to reveal a much harsher reality. Thank you for staying until the end. Behind every video are hours of research to bring you the complete story. If you value that effort, the best way to support us is by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. See you in the next investigation.